So we've established that Superman really is more powerful than a locomotive. But since we're on the subject, just how powerful is a locomotive?
The power of a locomotive is about 6,500 horsepower. That's about 5.5 million watts. If you could convert all that to electricity, that'd be enough to run 50,000 100-watt light bulbs.
Think about light for a second. It's a source of both energy and power. So it just might be that the source of Superman's amazing strength is the sun itself. This theory, found in the comic books, suggests that Earth's yellow sun emits more intense wavelengths of radiation than Krypton's slowly dying red sun.
This is my favorite rationale of Superman's powers. He's exposed to solar energy of the sort that his body was just not built to absorb. So instead, he takes it in, and that's where his super strength comes from.
Superman might have skin that has the capacity for a modified photovoltaic quality. That is, to take sunlight and convert it into electrical energy. We have an analogous system in our body. We use radiation from our sun, and we make vitamin D in our skin as a consequence of sunlight.
We've evolved to take advantage of our yellow sun with photosynthesis and plants absorbing vitamin D from sunlight. Over billions of years, all plants and animals on Earth have been optimized for the yellow star we see in the sky.
If Kryptonian hemoglobin was more similar to chlorophyll or more efficient in some ways than ours, Superman could just take in sunlight and convert it directly to food. People are working on research along these lines, and it may be possible someday to have solar-powered human beings. It's a question of altering certain genetic factors in the DNA, turning on certain genes that may do this.
But there's just one problem with this yellow sun versus red sun business. Scientifically speaking, it doesn't hold up to the light of day.
The difference between a red and a yellow star is not going to be huge. You're just going to get a little bit more or less energy, and it's not at all clear how that would translate to more or less strength.
But if Superman's strength, speed, and indestructibility might be the result of yellow suns and gravitational forces, there are still some physical characteristics that aren't so easy to explain. Like most things about Superman, there's more to him than meets the naked eye.
Whoa, Kent, are you all right? Kent, what happened up there?
Ask your typical teen which of Superman's powers they'd want the most, and chances are they'd say X-ray vision.
Yeah, if I'd had X-ray vision in high school, I would be doing this interview from prison.
For us, X-rays are as familiar as a trip to the doctor's office. But there's a big difference between the way those X-rays work and the kind created by Superman. In the real world, when a doctor or dentist takes an X-ray, a photographic plate is put behind the part of a patient's body getting examined. After a very brief exposure to the ray, an image is recorded that is otherwise unavailable to the human eye. But Superman doesn't need a photographic plate in order to see things. He sees them just by looking at them.
For Superman to use his X-ray vision, you would have to have a system where he generates X-rays, they go out, they go through what he wants to see, they hit something that actually reflects X-rays, which there's not a lot of stuff around on the planet that does. It bounces back, and then he detects it again.
But Superman's X-ray vision does have one limitation, just like the machine at your doctor's office.
What color underwear am I wearing? Oh, I'm sorry, I embarrassed you, didn't I?
No, Flame, it's just that this platter must be made of lead.
Yes it is, so?
Oh, you see, I sort of have a problem seeing through lead.
X-rays cannot penetrate lead pretty much because of the density of the material. This attribute of lead is used in hospitals, dental offices, because you want to limit the amount of X-rays you get exposed to.
Everyone seems to think there's something very valuable in one of those knives.
And you're going to examine them with your X-ray vision?
That's correct.
We better stand back. We could be burned by the ray bombardment, so intense.
That's quite correct. As a matter of fact, you better all wait in the hall.
Superman's X-ray vision would be harmful if it was powerful, like a high-dose type thing. There might be a scenario where his X-ray vision was low enough power, it didn't really cause damage, but most likely the X-ray vision would slowly cause damage if he kept looking at the same person over and over.
Well? Looks like you're all wrong. There's absolutely nothing hidden in any one of those knives.
The first time I thought I was hallucinating, and then it happened again.
Clark, I'm sure there's some way to control this.
You guys, I can see through things. How do you control that?
Of course, for filmmakers, showing Superman's ability to see through solid objects presents some definite creative challenges.
What we tried to do on Smallville that was different from the movies or the other TV shows was, you know, X-ray vision looked like an X-ray. It wasn't see-through vision, like the Craggerly hole in the wall and he could see through it. It was actually looked like if you were looking at a live X-ray. A live X-ray.
In the movie Superman Returns, director Bryan Singer chose yet another cinematic approach in order to illustrate Superman's unique visual ability.
In our film, his X-ray vision is not simply X-ray vision. It's more like an MRI or a CAT scan. It kind of dices and slices through things at his own discretion so that he's able to look into your body and separate your bones from your heart, from your liver, and find out what's wrong and make judgments.
But maybe the Man of Steel is flexing a different sort of scientific muscle.
Superman might use a sound wave energy system that, much like a sonogram, goes through materials and bounces back, and we get an understanding of the density of those materials, and we perceive that as X-ray vision, when in fact it's really a very modified sonar.
But Superman's superpowers of sight don't end with X-ray vision. He can also clearly see objects from extraordinary distances, just like a telescope.
I think I'll just go see if Ricky's all right. You okay?
Yeah.
We have photoreceptors on the back of our eye, and then we have a lens that focuses the light onto these photoreceptors. And so the quality of the lens and the number and sensitivity of the photoreceptors will enable a being like Superman to see many, many times farther than we can.
If you think super sight can only exist in comic books, think again. In our world, some birds, like eagles for example, can see much more sharply than humans. This is due to the fact that they have more light-sensitive cells in their retina, at least 4 times more than we do. But even if Superman had 100 times more light receptors in his eyes than humans, it wouldn't explain another of his extraordinary ocular abilities: heat vision.
His heat vision is essentially laser vision. It was created in the 1960s and made its own separate superpower.
If you wanted to make a laser for Superman in his eyes, you need a very high power source. And typically Superman's trying to melt stuff with his heat vision. But you need a fair amount of power to melt something quickly, so it would be unlikely to be able to generate enough energy, I think. But it's not completely inconceivable.
I was trying to explain to Brandon how he has heat vision. I said, well, in my mind, you draw solar energy and you collect a high concentration of it in a billion micromirrors inside of your eyeballs. And at will, you dispense it.
There are animals like the electric eel that do store charge and can emit a great deal of electricity. Superman may be able to emit some charge field of such a powerful nature that it goes beyond the body, goes beyond physical contact that the electric eel needs, and actually goes through air and space to have an impact on another body.
Okay, so assuming Superman can store energy like an electric eel, he just might be able to scorch objects just by blinking his baby blue eyes.